Hi, I hope you're well. It's the 4th of January. It's about 3 p.m. We are in my car again. What's new? I'm on my way to work. And today has been a really productive and boring day. I woke up at 6, went for a walk, and because I did, what's today? Thursday. It's a bit of a weird one this week because Monday was a public holiday, so it's not my usual. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is I did weights on Tuesday, Wednesday. So normally on Wednesday I go for a walk, but anyway, today I went for a walk and that was really nice. And Steve and I wrote a letter to our new neighbours, which Steve had suggested, just like introducing ourselves because we haven't met them all yet and we've been in for nearly 2 months. So I went around and dropped them off to their letterboxes as well. And what did I do? This must be so boring sometimes. But anyway, just did my normal morning routine, meditation, self-coaching scholars. Had a bit of extra time to do self-coaching scholars this morning, which was awesome because my walk doesn't take as long as like driving to the gym and doing a workout there. So that was really good. I've also been eating, like going back, I don't know if I was talking about this yesterday, but regardless, anyway, going back to eating a higher fat diet. So long story short, way back, as in probably before I started doing PT, which I don't do anymore, but anyway, before I started doing that, my approach to eating looked healthy on the outside, but internally it was really unhealthy, and my goal was to just be as skinny as possible basically, and to eat as little as possible and work out as much as possible. Like that was my formula. Didn't work. I mean, I wasn't fat or anything, but it was very unsatisfying, very required a lot of, I don't know, just a lot of struggle. So when I started doing PT, I started really just eating the right amount of food, which was a lot more than I had been eating, and also really starting to pay attention to the food groups I was eating and eating a diet that was higher in fat and higher in protein and not as many carbs, which isn't because carbs are the enemy, but more so because fat and protein are just such good sources of fuel. And so I did that and I felt great, never nearly as hungry or anything like that, like really enjoyed doing that. And then just slowly over time I like slipped back into my old pattern, not the old pattern, but just going back to the kinds of foods I normally would eat, but eating more of them than I used to previously, but eating a lot of carbs and mainly more so just taking the emphasis off fat, not intentionally, because as soon as I went on that diet that had a lot more fat, I realized like it was amazing. So also I love avocado, so why wouldn't I love a high fat diet? But anyway, I have lately just, especially I guess around the new year, what has been happening in my mind is more so that because I have this really big impossible goal for my business. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll link the videos below. Because I have that goal for my business and it's gonna make me uncomfortable by design, what I think I will have a tendency to do if I'm not paying attention to it is to manage those emotions with food and to really just, sort of take that discomfort and try to dull it with food. And not like that I'm going to be eating an obscene amount, but it still would be emotional eating. And so I I have decided that along with my impossible goal, I really just want to be paying attention to what I'm eating, more so just for the mind management side of it than anything else, because I know that if I'm feeling uncomfortable, like, it's human nature to try and get out of that, and that it'd be easy to do that with food, and I don't want to do that with food. I want to actually just be able to coach myself through the emotions instead of avoiding them. There's so many ways to avoid it: social media, food, drinking, whatever. But I think for me, food would probably be the easiest one. So yeah, I've just been thinking about how I want to be eating, also what food will fuel me the best for working, and also what's the easiest to maintain. So in Self-Coaching Scholars, the personal development course that I'm doing, Brooke has, like, she's a weight loss coach, and not that I definitely don't need to lose any weight, but her course is called Stop Overeating, her mini course, and it's really about how to stop overeating, like how to stop emotional eating and over desire for food, and actually how to have the right amount of desire for food. And I love her approach as well, because usually, like, if you go on a diet, which this isn't, if you go on a diet, you feel deprived because you still desire the food but you can't have it. Her approach is you learn how to remove the desire, which a lot of people are very resistant to doing. I'm not. I'm fine with that. Removing the desire for food, and so that you don't actually even have that deprivation because you don't want it. It's like an example of this in a different area, because people can't, it's hard to see sometimes from food if you can't even imagine not desiring it. And, like, obviously you need a certain amount to function, but the extra food, over desire is what she calls it. So, like, I don't smoke ever, never ever smoke, and so I have no desire for cigarettes. If you put a big packet of cigarettes on the table in front of me or in the car here, I would have no issue at all with not smoking them, because I have no desire. And I also don't feel deprived because the desire isn't there. So often if you go on a diet, if you still have the desire, that's why you're feeling deprived. But if you can remove the desire, or the desire for all that food that isn't helping you, then you don't feel deprived. And then you feel really uncomfortable because you have to deal with all the negative emotions that come up when you're not using food to dull those emotions. So that's what I've been working on as well, alongside my impossible goal stuff. And she also talks about the high fat diet, which is what got me thinking about it. It's also high in protein as well, but just because typically people, like, we got taught, you know, fat makes you fat when it doesn't. So anyway, I'm not pretending to be a nutritionist here, but that's what I'm personally doing. And so the last few days I've been doing it, and I've been having a, like, coconut oil in my tea, which has been really good, and just 2 boiled eggs for breakfast, which isn't on anyone's recommendation. I was just like, well, I did my food shopping, like, the day before all of this. I was like, oh, well, like, I don't want to, I actually have no issue with wasting food. I'm not one of those people, and I know some people, like, look down upon me because I don't have an issue with wasting food. But I was like, I don't want to spend the money on more food when I've just gone out and boiled this food yesterday. So I didn't end up cooking the pasta that I bought, which was like $1. But I had eggs and I had coconut oil. I was like, well, I can do this until my next shop, and then I will just focus on getting more of the foods that will help. So yeah, I've been doing that, and I've been listening to some podcast episodes about bulletproof coffee, except I don't want to do the coffee version because I'm not a coffee drinker, and I don't feel like this is a good reason to start. But you can do it with tea, and it's basically, if you haven't heard of it, from what I understand at this point, and I haven't listened to too much about it, but it's you put MCT oil or coconut oil and grass-fed butter, which sounds so weird, but anyway, into your coffee normally, or you can put it in tea. There's a certain way you, like, blend it up or whatever, and it just gives you like long lasting energy, no crash. Fat is really satiating, like you really feel satisfied, as opposed to like if you have carbs for breakfast. Like whenever I love toast so much. Whenever I have toast for breakfast, an hour later I'm hungry. And so I just have a rule, I never have toast for breakfast because it doesn't help me. So normally my go-to is oats, but when I've just been having 2 boiled eggs and the tea with coconut oil, for now that's like really sustaining me till lunch. And then for lunch I've just had my salad with sweet potato, which is just baked sweet potato, and then putting in it the tinned salmon that's in olive oil, because that's fat, so it's like a higher fat than just the fish alone, which is also fatty. And it's just so filling, and just I feel so good physically. And yeah, what I was gonna say is, in the few days that I've done it, I just feel so much less bloated than when I was eating lots of carbs, even though they were healthy carbs. So that's what I've been doing, just mainly so I don't manage my mind, I don't manage my emotions with food. I want to just manage my emotions with my brain. So yeah, so today it was boring in the sense that I wasn't distracted at all. Like nothing exciting happened because I just followed my plan, which was to write the content for my online course, Get Out of Your Own Way, which is about how to stop procrastinating. And I'm so excited to teach everything that I've learned, because it's really just been like a huge light bulb for me, all of the stuff I'm teaching. And I know that so many of you guys struggle with exactly what I struggled with, and to have finally feel like I have really overcome it. And yeah, it's not fun to not procrastinate though, and that's something I talk about in the course, that, you know, you think if you're not procrastinating you must feel motivated, excited, you know, and feel good. It really doesn't. I felt so restless, and though for a lot of it, once I just let the restlessness be there and not react to it, then I was like got into such a good rhythm and wrote so much. I didn't quite get it all finished, but it's like 4/5 of the way done for like a first draft, which I would say is pretty close to the final draft. I've gotten, just with the repetition of it, a lot better at just writing now my first draft in a way that could be a final draft. So yeah, I did that. Planned to stop at 12:30 for lunch. Stopped at 12:30 for lunch till 1, which is what I planned. Planned to stop at 2:30 so that I had time to pin a few things on Pinterest and read my emails. I did that. It was very unexciting. And I haven't spoken to anyone all day. Steve went to work this morning when I woke up, and no one else has been in the house. So yeah, kind of feel a bit stir crazy, innocent. Not really. I don't know, I just like haven't spoken to anyone, so I'm glad I'm going to work and we'll get some human interaction. And then Steve and I will hang out tonight. We started watching a show called Peaky Blinders last night on Netflix, because I've heard it's good and it has really good reviews, but we've only watched half an episode and I'm not yet sold on it. Also took me a little bit to adjust to the type of British accent they have, but anyway, yeah, so we'll just hang out tonight. And yeah, it's been such a good day, but just another reminder to myself that when I'm productive, like, it doesn't feel fun or exciting. Like, it kind of feels like, oh, is this all there is to life? But the feeling of satisfaction and all the other stuff makes it worth it. And procrastination is so draining that I feel so much better. But I haven't looked at Instagram all day. I just went on at 7:30 this morning, posted, and then literally haven't looked at it. And I really felt like the urge to look at it and be like, oh, does everyone still like me? But I just haven't let myself. I haven't reacted to it. I've just been like, I want to look at Instagram. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to check it after work. And yeah, I only want to check Instagram twice a day, once to post, and then at night I'll just reply to people's comments. So, and I'll just do that like as I'm leaving work. And that way, like, it's so easy for that stuff to just become all consuming and constantly be trying to see if everyone likes me. Wow, this has not been, there we go. So yeah, that's all I have to share today. I'll keep you updated on all of it as always, but I hope you're well. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye!